Welcome back to another episode of Paint Society, the channel where the learning doesn't stop when the video ends. Well, today we have a new series that we're going to be introducing to you on this beautiful Honda S2000. We're going to be adding a whole bunch of different CR accessories to this car. There's going to be a mini series, and today we're going to show you how to cut in a trunk panel and get ready to do the rest of it for the later episodes.
Don't overthink it, it's just paint.
And thanks once again for joining me on this episode. We can see the final product already done here, and we're gonna show you why did we need to paint this trunk when there's nothing wrong with the old one. We can already see on the new trunk, it is a brand new panel, but what makes this trunk different from the old one? Let's go take a look right now. This is the old trunk right here. We can see that there's really nothing damaged, but you might notice that if I flip it over, take a look at this. You don't see any holes. Well, we're actually going to be adding a CR wing, and this trunk does not have the holes or the extra bracing for it, which is why we're going to go ahead and we're going to paint the new trunk. Right now, let's head out to the body shop. I'm going to show you a little bit more about that edition trunk.
Now when we move back into the body shop, we can see that this is the new OEM trunk. You see the holes that are already drilled for the OEM trunk here for the spoiler. Now inside of those holes, there's actually bracing for the new spoiler. Now could you drill those holes on the old spoiler? Probably. The only problem with that is it does not have the bracing and it will make it flex. Now in our system, color build, it says in the TDS that you do not need to sand your cut in parts. A cut in part is like the bottom side or the inside of a part that is not typically seen on the outside. So I like to just take a gray or maroon scuff pad and just give it a little bit of a scratch. That way I know for sure that it's going to go ahead and stick very, very well. But they do say you don't need to do that on a cut-in part. So how many of you do not scratch up your panels if your sealer says direct to the E-code or the primered areas? So I like to go ahead and clean off my areas, blow everything up. Do not spray any of the cleaner directly onto the panel. You'll never be able to get it out. You'll see it when you go to paint. It will come out. So make sure when you're doing that, you spray your towel first and then wipe in the sections and make sure it's not wet anywhere. We'll go right into the sealer. This is our color build sealer. I mixed up a color that is very close to our paint code, NH630M. I'm using the 3M performance gun with a 1.2 tip. You'll see I use this gun mostly all the way through. I used the Developist to clear at the end. But I went ahead also, if you can pick it up, I put some screws in those holes where the bolts will go back in so we don't get any paint stuck in those threads. And this is what it looks like before it flashes, all right? This is when it's just sprayed. And after it flashes, you'll notice later in a little bit here that it will completely dull out. And that's a good indication that it's ready for its next coating. All right, so that's going to be about maybe 5 to 10 minutes later, depending on your temperature. And you can see here it's completely flat. You don't need to sand this, you don't need to do anything. You can go right into your base coat from here. And the reason why I like sealing, once again, it's great adhesion. And you'll notice here when I go to base, I'm going to cover this in 2 coats flat. Nothing more, nothing less, in and out, ready to go. And that's because I already have a similar color or a shade that complements the base coat that's going on there. You can see with 1 coat already, it's completely just about covered, and you'll do 1 more for good insurance. With our base coat system, or about maybe 5 or 6 minutes later, we can roll right into that next coat. Now this next coat is no different, maybe 1 or 2 inches at least of a distance, just to make sure those metallics lay down really nice. But for the underside of a hood, trunk, or anything like that, you're not going to see it. Now I mentioned earlier, and I mentioned again, that typically on a car like this, you would only really spray the outside areas. But this guy is very particular. We want to make it look very, very nice. It's a beautiful car, so we're going full gloss on the underside of this trunk lid. The OEM didn't have full gloss, just around the edges, but this doesn't have a liner, a carpet liner. So we're going to go ahead, full gloss it out. Make sure when that trunk is open, you get those extra points at the car show because it looks that good and it looks that shiny. So we're using the Devilibus here, the DV1. I got a 1.3 in there. Don't go really wet on your first coat, guys. It looks super shiny. I didn't go super wet, but you will get runs. You want to consider that your first coat is like your glue coat. So now we put down our glue. So when we lay down that next coat, it's got something to stick to. The base coat is not something that it's going to grab onto easily. The base coat is going to want to kind of run off of, and that's when you'll get those runs. So I would say about a good 10 minutes later, we are going to put on our second coat. It was kind of cool this night in the booth. It was around 70 degrees in South Florida. That is cool weather for us. The rain had come in and then the humidity came in shortly after, but the paint was flowing, so it's very important to identify what's going on in the paint booth and then adjust from there, whether it's your spraying technique or what you put in the clear. Maybe you put a medium hardener instead of a slow, and then you go from there. But this is going to wrap it up here. It looks very beautiful, very happy with the way it looks. Guys, I'm going to be bringing you shorter videos to the point and really help you out. Very easy to understand without any extra fluff. So let's go ahead and see what it looks like back on the car.
And that's going to wrap things up for this episode. You can see we got it all nice and beautiful, and it doesn't even need to look this good, but for this particular customer, well, we know that he's a little picky and we want it to look very nice. So what we're going to see in the following episodes on this build, we're going to have to scuff this all down. We'll scuff the quarter panels, we'll scuff the sill panel here. We also have the front and rear bumper and many other accessories on this actual build coming up. So don't forget to hit the like and the subscribe button. And guys, this is Brian from Paint Society reminding you, don't overthink it. It's just paint. We'll see you guys on the next episode.